Can Battlefield 1 be competitive? It's a valid question. You would have asked me a few months ago, and I'd probably been like, no. But many other YouTubers have been posting videos, comments, and speculation all over the place. I wanted to throw my input in there because I feel like this is a very unlikely thing to happen. At least be successful. They can attempt it, but I don't see it really going anywhere. Not to be a hater or to drag on, but to be fair, there is a lot of evidence that supports the fact, including job hirings and open applications, things like this, that point to, hey, there's something competitive in the works for Battlefield. And I would open arms, just completely devour this idea. I used to do scrims and stuff like this during Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. By far, some of the most fun and intense gameplay I've ever had in Battlefield. But you also have to think from a standpoint, where's the draw? Where are the investors and the sponsorship money? How's this going to work? It all comes down to one question that you have to ask yourself about Battlefield, and that is simply, how is Battlefield unique? With this question, you should come to realize there's really only one of two ways that Battlefield is different from the other games out there. Number one, very large player count. Large-scale epic battles, and 32v32 is top of the line. Scooting over, its gimmick is the fact that you have airplanes, cavalry, armor, vehicles, tanks, and explosions. That's its thing, right? That's what makes it unique and separates it from the Call of Duties and the Rainbow Sixes. This is its unique calling card, and they have to incorporate that in some way. Now, the obstacle that lies in front of it is, how do they capture those unique elements, release them to the public, and make it a competitive thing? If you want an esports scene, this is extremely unrealistic. For number one, and for those that have actually witnessed what it's like to see a 64-man fight, it's very hard to shoutcast and focus on this. There's not a lot of action, no matter who you're watching, you're skipping through players, people actually out there. As you cycle through, you're gonna miss a lot of good stuff. You're going to have a lot of dry areas, and it's just not easy to watch, let alone shoutcast, and it's going to be really hard to bring people in for that. Not to mention the costs. How are you gonna get people into a stadium and fill these venues when you need 64 players on the field playing right then and there on stage? That's a lot of money that you're going to need to pump into equipment, and it's just unrealistic. There's no way that they're just going to kick that out. And because of this major drawback, they're going to have to downscale a lot. And my prediction all along, which I've been talking about for basically since the launch of Battlefield 1, is there has to be a reason why Rush was crippled to 24 players. There's no other explanation for why they haven't addressed this. There was no reason to completely corrupt and cripple what was one of their founding game types that made them unique, and in my opinion, the most intense game type. Why reduce the player count unless they have something in line? They haven't mentioned anything about it either. It's kind of just like, oh yeah, 24 man. Now 12v12 is a bit more realistic if we're talking about putting people on a stage. It's not impossible. It's still very hard. I don't know if you're going to get a lot of people investing in this. It's still going to be a ridiculous amount out of pocket for people that are sponsoring some of these teams. If you're looking further into the future, that's going to be a hard thing to sell. And again, you have to ask yourself, is Battlefield in its current state even playing 12v12 Rush? Is it interesting enough to get people to bite, to come, to show, to participate, to play? And one of the best ways they can go moving forward would be to introduce the actual ability to play in a ranked environment for the entire community. And the only way they do that is to get ranked playlists, and I don't know how they do that with the way their servers work. Again, it's a very, very slippery area and hard thing to work with. But honestly, it's probably the best route they can take. One of the biggest things about the esports industry, people that are diving into competitive nowadays, whether or not it's Siege, Counter-Strike, League, whatever the situation or game is, the foundation is they want to root for their favorite players and try their best to emulate that. You want to see these players go off and do ridiculous things, but you also want to push yourself as a player. And if they're introducing esports or a competitive scene, there's got to be a way for the average Joe, the regular guy with premium of course, to participate in something like this. So that's another route they have to incorporate if they want this to ever spread awareness, because people aren't just going to watch people play, they're going to want to try it themselves. It's not so much a sport in that way. So that was my prediction. I feel like they've been withholding Rush and restricting it to a 12v12 environment because they have something planned for it. It's the only thing that kind of makes sense to me. Why would they make that change? That dramatic of a change for no reason. Another course, and what would probably be the best way financially and to set up, would be to alter existing game types. We've seen similar things with Rush in the past, where it's smaller player counts, reduced tickets, and we've gone through that route. But to grab the intensity that people are so used to now in FPS gaming, we're talking Siege, Counter-Strike, there needs to be a lot of room for error and pressure on individual small player groups. So 5-man squad, 5v5, create kind of a progressive search and destroy where you go through each of these maps. Instead of playing on one map and swapping sides, you're playing on an attack and defense, you swap, and then you move on to another section of the map. And you keep doing that back and forth. So it's not like you're doing a bunch of rounds on this map, then we'll go to map 2. Each map individually in Battlefield is unique, and that intensity would be there. And there's lots of room to grow with that. So maybe they create something entirely new. There's a lot of potential here. But they're going to have to open it up to the public. They're going to have to be able to participate themselves, even though the crowds, the community, have built their own individual organized events before. The money's not there, the attention's not there, the large player counts, it's very hard to keep up with all of that. You can't build teams around 64 players. There are not that many really good players in the world. So they're going to have to dream smaller. And that's what they're going to have to do. That's what I expect to come. So if you guys have any ideas yourself, you let me know. Lots of evidence points towards something coming in the near future for Battlefield. Something competitive. Do you think they may incorporate something interesting into the new battle log? They could have been working on this for years now and just kept it under wraps, like some super secret experiment, codenamed Platypus, ready to just unleash on the community. Who knows? Who honestly knows? But I'm excited because, like I said, there's a little bit of evidence now. There's a little trail for where this can go. You guys feed the comment section. Let me know what you guys think is likely to happen. Do you think it's going to happen? If so, how? I'm curious. Now, I do know this means they are going to have to fix a few things. Battlefield is far from being a very competitive game. If anything, I feel like it's gone backwards in Battlefield 1 in terms of skill. We have suppression, which is never good for a healthy shooter. We have things like the auto repair on the armor, completely taking away the teamwork that was necessary for repairing vehicles in the past. So there's some things they're going to need to change to get that foundation set, but there's definitely room for improvement, and I'm curious to see where this goes for the health of both casual and competitive Battlefield. So thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if you're new here. Be sure to tune in for more live streams. Check that down in the description below. We stream daily. Catch you out there, boys.